Once again, this is Joe from Joyful Noise Productions here with my, what I'll call my mock Frankenstrat here, which the video will be coming out for this in a few more weeks. So, but we're going to talk about music theory. Yeah, the subject we all dread. But before we go into it, please do me a favor. Like this video, share it to all your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Also hit the notifications button so that way you can know when the next video drops. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, as my own viewing of some YouTube videos as of lately, music theory has been coming up a lot on my feed. Now, if we were really honest, we do struggle with music theory. Even yours truly, even though I went to school for it. We think of music theory as complicated. It's too much to take in. But unfortunately, and here's the truth, the lack of it hinders us from giving us the ability to express ourselves musically. It's frustrating and it sucks, especially when you hear others playing their instruments or writing music with ease and with confidence. See, music theory is often seen as a daunting subject. It doesn't have to be in reality. See, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let you know you only need to know the basics of it. You know, just with the right approach and with minimal understanding, you can actually learn music theory and apply that into your music. When musicians do not understand music theory, they often find themselves limited in their capability to express themselves. You know, you can think of, to create funky chords or to be able to create a killer guitar solo, or be able, or if you're playing drums to kind of get a certain feel, or if you're playing keyboards to get a certain kind of sound with chords, things like that. A lot of times we try to rely on trial and error, and which really at the end of the day leads to stagnation and lack of progress when it comes to writing music. By not understanding the fundamentals of music, we're missing out on a whole world of creative possibilities. But again, here's the good news. See, music theory is just not for classical musicians or music theorists. It's also, if we break it down into its most simplest form, it can also be made for people like you and I, who don't want to get into the weeds of learning all the rules of music theory and what goes into it. If we just even get the bare essentials like scales, chords, progressions, and note values, anyone who wants to improve their musical skills can be able to express themselves more effectively, and that's a good thing. Even if you're just a beginner or an experienced musician, learning the basics of music theory can take your playing to the next level. Now, music theory is the foundation of which all music is built on. Think of a house when they talk about the foundation. How are you going to build, one-story housing or two-story house if you don't know how the foundation is laid? Music theory in music is the same exact way. How can you build the music without knowing what you're building on? Because it's the language that musicians use to communicate with each other, and it's essential for creating and playing music that sounds good. That's where you come up with collaborations. You're playing one thing, one person hears the other thing, then maybe as you're playing it, you end up hearing, okay, well, how about if I try a little of this? That's how you build great music. And by learning music theory, you're also able to understand the music you play and create, and be able to do that by expressing yourself more effectively as you do so. First things first, let's start with scales. A scale is a sequence of notes arranged in a specific order from going up and down based on a pitch. See, the scales They provide a framework of serving as a foundation for creating melodies and harmonies. What makes a scale sound a certain way is the intervals that are implied in it, or distances that are typically in forms of whole steps or half steps, or the technical term, semitones. Though these steps or semitones create the tonality of music, it helps to distinguish the differences between what's known as a major scale or a minor scale. And depending on how that scale is set up, that will create the mood for the music you're creating. Now, what builds on those scales are chords. Now, chords are a group of notes played together. They are the essentials for adding depth and complexity to your music. Most chords are usually built on 3 notes, and they're also designed and based on the semitones as well, which give them a particular type of sound. The chords are based on these 3 things: the root note or the tonic note, the 3rd and the 5th notes of the scale. The chords is established by the scale and in the way it's going to sound. For example, you always hear the famous C major scale. It kind of has a certain sound to it. What that's going to do is going to add tonality along with the scales you're playing in those chords. And that's what's going to give the harmonies and the melodies something to write on. But in order to make those happen, we got to put them in a sequence called progressions. Now, progressions are a sequence of chords that you use to create a song. For example, you think of C to F to G. That's a progression. And those progressions is what creates the styles of the song. Or you think of another one which goes E minor, D, and C. Those progressions enable you to add structure and coherence to your music. When you put scales and chords together in a form of a progression, you're creating an emotional journey from beginning to end. You know, you think of the way love songs are played. You think of the way rock anthems come out. That's the emotional journey that you are creating. And chord progressions is what leads the way and establishes all those harmonies and chords to create the sound you want. But there's still one last element that's involved: note values. Note values are what determine the speed or the length of the song. You think of the notes as road signs. It determines how fast you can travel and how far you got to go on your destination. These also help with the emotional impact of sound. Now, when it comes to the note values, the way since I used to teach guitar, the way I would explain to my students goes something like this. You think of $1 and you break them down in fractions. $1 bill equals 4 quarters. 4 quarters equals a combination of dimes and nickels. And you also break those down even to its further. You got what you call your pennies. That's how note values work. When you begin to put them all together, when you begin to have a fuller understanding of it. As you see, even just with those basics laid out, music theory is not understanding concepts, but it's how you apply them to music. By learning these basic music theory concepts in your playing, you're able to create music that's more engaging and effective. You'll be able to communicate your ideas and the emotions more clearly. And through that, you'll be able to connect with your audience at a more deeper level. That's why you have sentiments like, oh dude, that song sounds cool. Or some girls say, well, that song touched me in the heart. Or like, we will rock you. You get a stadium chant to go at it. Now you're probably thinking, sure, there's a lot of it, but who do I look to? Now, there are a lot of YouTubers out there who can get deep into music theory. But the person who comes heavily into mind is Rick Beato. He is all into that. And there is nothing that gets by him when it comes to explaining music, breaking down chords and stuff like that. By mastering these, even just the basics of music theory concepts, you'll be able to take your playing or your writing to a whole new level. That's just me though, but again, you know, that's pretty much what it is out there. But again, leave a comment and start a conversation about how you feel about music theory. What you think? I don't know. I want to be like the 90s. I don't care. I'll just write whatever I feel. Or maybe some of you, when you begin to learn a little bit of those music, begin to learn a little bit of music theory, you're like, oh wow. So go ahead, leave your thoughts in the comments, and until the next time, or hopefully when I bring this bad boy out for an unboxing, I'll see you in the next one.